Hello and welcome to this edition of GCS Today here on Channel 21, the program that brings you news and information from Gaston County Schools. I'm Todd Hagans. On today's edition, we hear from an elementary school teacher who is taking her place in the national spotlight. And we meet two high school students who are headed to the International Science Fair. Joining me on GCS Today is Karen Solis. She is an ESL teacher at H.H. Beam Elementary School. Karen, welcome, and let's first talk about tell me what ESL stands for.
Hi Todd, thanks for having me today. ESL stands for English as a Second Language, and that is our student population that comes to us with another language having been spoken in the home, and they need that support for transitioning to full English.
Now, Karen, you have been chosen as a representative for the TESOL International Association's Advocacy Days in Washington, D.C. this June. That's a mouthful. And tell us a little bit about TESOL. I know it's an organization that is committed to advancing the English language learning in schools.
Right, and it's now an international organization, and this opportunity will provide advocates from all over the United States to come to Capitol Hill and be debriefed on what the current issues are and how to best represent yourself for a day with appointments made to the representatives and senators. And
another thing that I want to mention is in July, you will present a workshop at the SIOP National Conference in Seattle. So you're going to be busy this summer representing our students in our school district. Tell us a little bit about that workshop and what you'll be doing with that opportunity.
Well, SIOP stands for the Sheltered Instruction Observation Protocol, which is just a great best practices teaching way of differentiating for all learners, but specifically for English learners. We actually have our own SIOP coach here in Gaston County who is able to provide support to content teachers in the classroom, and will come out and do workshops as well. Lisa Jordan.
So you're going to be serving as the advocate and as a promoter and as someone who knows what students need and what adults can do and people of influence can do to help the children in the classroom.
Yes.
And I think it's important to know when you hear ESL, English as a Second Language, you automatically think that you are working with children who speak Spanish, and that is the case. But there are many other languages that I think there's about 30 languages that students in our schools speak. So talk a little bit about the different languages that you encounter when working with your students.
Well, we have over 30 languages in Gaston County, and predominantly the Spanish at my current school, H.H. Beam, is Spanish, but they come from different countries. So there's different dialects of Spanish, but I've also had students that speak Chinese, Vietnamese, Hmong, Polish, Arabic, and one of the neatest things I had was a little girl from the Jordan and a girl from Egypt. And I let them self-discover that they spoke the same language in first grade. And it was awesome because their eyes just got huge. And of course, they have a whole different way of writing. And I let them write their names on the board. And all the other kids were just like, wow, what does that say? And it was like they had their own private language. And it was just really neat.
Now I know that being in the classroom, when I was in high school and we learned Spanish, the way we learned that is the teacher would put tags all around the room on different items so we could build that vocabulary. I imagine you do some of that as well. What is your goal? I know that you want to help students learn how to speak English so they can communicate.
Right, and I want in order for students to communicate, they need to be able to learn the vocabulary, learn basic sentence structure, and then be able to develop discourse, whether it's speaking and doing a presentation or being able to write an essay eventually in high school. So what I focus on is building their capacity as they're learning English to be able to do those things and to be a successful student in the regular classroom. because it's so important for them to be able to verbalize their ideas and to go from a very beginning level of just being able to use the bathroom or get some water to being able to, when they don't understand something about photosynthesis, to be able to ask that academic question.
Now, I imagine elementary age children, they probably are eager to learn new words and a new language. Do you see that happening in your classroom?
I do, but it's also exhausting, especially for our kindergartners who come in that are being, it'd be like if you were young and you came in and you heard Chinese all day, every day, and you didn't understand a single word. It wouldn't matter if I spoke slower, it wouldn't matter if I spoke louder. You wouldn't understand it unless I brought some things in and you were able to start with your brain patterns making connections that, oh, that's a pencil, and then you would start saying it. So it is exhausting for our newcomers, but at the same time, when they have that warm, inviting environment in the classroom and that peer support, then they pick it up rapidly.
Now, with the opportunity that you're going to have to participate in the Advocacy Days this summer, and also the National Conference in Seattle, what exactly will you be doing, and how are you chosen for those two opportunities?
Okay, for the TESOL Advocacy, I actually read an email about a membership opening for the National Council of State Title III Directors. And they wanted to have more representation across different areas for the English learners and be able to have a stronger membership of who all is impacted by Title III. So I applied for that and I was in it. Then they had an application go out for TESOL Advocacy Day. And because I had represented Carolina TESOL, my professional organization here in North and South Carolina, and had been the socio-political rep and attended TESOL Advocacy before, I think that sort of set it in my favor to be able to go, and they've asked me to go and represent nationally now.
Okay.
It's exciting.
Let's talk a little bit about your classroom. First, what is it like to be an ESL teacher? Obviously, it's something you enjoy.
I do. I found my fishbowl. So I started out as a classroom teacher, taught 5th grade here in Woodhill, and then moved to California for a while and came back. But what I love about ESL is that I'm bringing all different cultures into my classroom and into my world, and able to build their language skills with different, we do a lot of projects, and like in 3rd grade we're getting ready to do vegetable gardens, and it's just so easy to integrate all 4 domains of language, the listening, speaking, reading, and writing, with your math and your science and your reading and even social studies. So I like being able to give them the whole ball of wax, so to speak, in my classroom, and then with the technology that I'm able to have through Pinnacle, it just adds a whole nother dimension. So yeah, we're really excited.
And I know that you're part of the Pinnacle Leaders Program here in Gaston County, and of course that's for educators, and it helps build technology skills. You're a technology guru in your school. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about, I imagine that technology complements what you do in the classroom.
Well, I think it can for any classroom. I think the way that we use technology is critical, because we don't want to make it all about the technology. Because in everyday life, you want to make whatever you do a seamless integration. So using the domains of language with the content, with the technology, it's useful, meaningful, purposeful, and relevant. And it's authentic. And then the students, no matter, because technology grows so rapidly in what we're doing. So if I can help build those critical pathways in the brain so that no matter what they're faced with 5 years from now, they're going to have all this wonderful opportunity in my classroom with what they've learned, with what we have, to progress further later.
What do you enjoy most about your job?
That's hard, because I love working with the students. I love seeing those aha light bulbs go off every day. And in elementary, we still get the hugs. But I I also love working with teachers, and I love just encouraging them and building their capacity as well with the technology or with differentiating strategies when they're not able to connect with the student, and just building those bridges as well. I just, it's good times.
And we are getting close to the end of another school year.
Mm-hmm.
When you look back on the school year with your students, what has been your goal? What have you wanted to accomplish with your students?
That's such a great question, because we're in a very reflective mode right now. What haven't we done? What do we still want to do? What are we going to be able to do realistically as we finish out the school year? I think, and with what we're doing right now is creating ebooks so that they are summarizing everything they've learned this year, and then they can access it from home over the summer, or if they go to the library from the computers there, wherever. There's just never enough time. That's my biggest thing. There's never enough time. More projects. I wish we could have done more projects with the constraints, only being able to pull them out for certain amounts of time during the year or during the day. It's just such a challenge, but it gives me a starting point. One of the really neat things is that I'll have those students next year too. So I know what they've had, and I know where I can start and get them going with things that we haven't been able to do this year.
Well, I know that your students and their parents as well, I know they appreciate what you do to help them learn and help them grow and to build that English language foundation at the elementary school level so that they can be successful when they go to middle school and high school. We know that's what you're accomplishing in your classroom. So, and we appreciate that, and we want to congratulate you on these two big opportunities this summer to represent your school and to represent Gaston County Schools on a national level, and bringing attention to the importance of ESL teaching and learning in our classrooms. So congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
And we certainly appreciate you being with us today here on GCS Today.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
You are watching GCS Today here on Channel 21. We will be right back.
And then from this angle, it all makes a star.
I'm a teacher. Let me tell you what I make. I make learning a privilege, not a chore.
Show up
And frustration, a tool, not an obstacle. I make working hard seem easy, and giving up impossible.
And then we're going to turn the lights and everybody look up.
I make an old subject feel like a fresh thought.
Find me one.
What's your reaction?
Yeah!
Yeah, exactly.
And unconventional methods
Okay, what else?
common.
Little tadpoles, frogs, everybody say, this is their world.
There's nothing.
And then they die. Go ahead, go, go, go.
I'm a teacher. I make more.
Welcome back to GCS Today. This year, our Gaston Regional Science and Engineering Fair celebrated its 10th anniversary. In addition to having students advance from the local competition to the regional and state competitions, we had 2 students to qualify for the International Science Fair in Pittsburgh. We visited Stuart W. Kramer High School to meet Emmily Mobley and Alex Klasing, who are representing Gaston County Schools on the international level. We are at Stuart W. Kramer High School, and I'm here with Bianca Yavalak. She is a science curriculum facilitator for Gaston County Schools, and 2 students from Stuart W. Kramer High School, Alex Klasing and Emily Mobley, and they are on their way to the International Science Fair. And Bianca, it began back in January at the Gaston Regional Science and Engineering Fair, the local science fair, and now we have 2 students that have made it all the way to the international level. What do you think about that?
Well, first, I think they would probably tell you it started way before January. Projects of this caliber take a really long time, and they put in a lot of work, and we're super excited for them. We started in January, and they both placed at our fair and then moved on to the regional fair, placed at the regional fair. Emily was actually one of the 2 students from the Region 6 fair to get a qualification spot for ISEF. Alex had to do one more competition, so he went to state level and then got his bid to internationals from the state level fair. So we have traveled a lot of places around North Carolina to get them here, but we're very excited to send them off to Pittsburgh to compete. There's going to be approximately 2,000 projects from about 80 countries competing against them. So they're going to make lots of new friends and get to meet lots of cool people, and it's a really great week.
And it's a really big deal to stress you have that many students from that many countries that are involved, and to have 2 students from Gaston County Schools involved, that is impressive.
Yes, we are very excited. This has been one of our major goals over the last 10 years to try to get students competing at these big fairs. And so every year we try to push students to do bigger, better projects. Alex has actually worked on his for 2 years. This is a continuation project, so it's nice to see all that hard work pay off.
Okay, let's learn a little bit about these 2 projects. And Emily, we'll start with you. So tell us the title of your project and give us a little bit of an overview about what you tried to accomplish with your project.
Okay, so what I researched is the lethal effects of Gen X on Daphnia magna. And my goal here was to create a study, a toxicology study, finding out how Gen X, a chemical found in Wilmington, affects Daphnia, which are these little filter feeders.
So a Daphnia is a creature. It's a living...
Yes. It's about this big. Like, it's smaller than your pinky finger.
And so it's found in this case, it's found in the Cape Fear River.
Yes.
And you did your research based on how Gen X, which is a chemical
yes,
compound,
yeah,
and how that affects living organisms in the water. So what did you discover, and what did you think you were going to discover?
So I pretty much discovered what I thought I would. I did some research with this chemical, which was actually a little bit hard because it has so many different names. The scientist actually gave this chemical about 5 different names. So finding research on it can be a bit complicated. But I actually found an EC50, which was really excited. I worked with Joshua Mays at Gaston College, and he was super awesome. Their whole department has been really helpful in letting me and some other students do research there.
And what did you discover about Gen X and the effects on the river and the water quality?
So, since Gen X is a chemical, a fluoropolymer processing aid specifically,
and it's used in what? When you say Gen X, what type of products do we find?
That's the first thing everyone usually wants to know is, what is Gen X? That sounds kind of different. So what it's used in is making like firefighting foams and hydrophobic materials, different things you use in your everyday life, really.
Okay. And so that is being found in rivers, in this case, like I said, the Cape Fear River. What did you conclude through your research? I know you said that there's not a lot of research out there in this, and Gen X is relatively new.
Yeah.
What were you able to find, and what conclusions did you come to?
Well, I was able to find that it does have lethal effects on Daphnia. I was also able to find through some other research that it does spread throughout the ecosystem, like it was found in honey from local bees in Wilmington. And I've just decided that I would like to continue this research and look at testing the Daphnia over a longer period of time as it would be in their natural environment.
Do you think that we need to get to the point to where there needs to be some type of regulations or rules or restrictions put in place? Or have you found the need for that through what you've discovered?
Well, since we don't know much about the chemical, I can't say that yet, but after doing some more research and getting better results with some concrete answers, I think that would be good to look at.
That's what you'd like to discover, what you'd like to be able to say, to give some
well, I would not
about
like to say that there's harmful chemicals in the river, but I would like to say that, this definitively has this result, and therefore some recommendations should be
Well, good luck on this project, and like you said, your research will continue.
Yes.
Because this is not the type of project that you do overnight. So, and good luck with the International Science Fair. Now, Alex, we will talk a little bit about your project. And basically, what I understand, you created a sun in your garage.
Yeah. Yes. What the sun does is it takes lighter elements and turns them into heavier elements. And when it does that, there's a teeny tiny bit of difference in mass between the lighter isotopes and the heavier isotopes that they turn into, and that excess mass comes out as energy. So that can be very valuable to us. And the way I detected fusions taking place, which is what the sun does, is I measured neutrons coming out.
And so you created this, and that is the equipment or the sun that you made?
Most of it's peripheral. The main component of the apparatus itself is roughly that large.
Okay. And what were some of your discoveries? What did you find interesting about?
Previously, it was thought that it would take a minimum of 200 watts. I managed to do it with roughly 85 watts of power. So that's it's generally thought of, fusions are thought of as being this thing that takes these gigantic machines to create, but it's really kind of simple compared to that.
So this project gave you an opportunity to see how the sun works in a way that we can't go to the sun, but it gave you the opportunity to see how it works and really, I guess maybe you would conclude how dynamic the sun is and the effect of the sun on everything that we know.
Yeah.
All right, what else would you like to point out about the data or about your conclusions or maybe something else that you found out that was really interesting that you didn't expect to find out?
Something that I didn't expect to find out. At one point there was there were these oscillations in the plasma that I didn't expect, where it was kind of getting brighter and dimmer at a certain predictable frequency. And it turns out that was due to these things called Townsend avalanches. So that basically just has to do with the pressure and the distance in between ions in the system. But it was something I didn't really expect.
All right, why did you pick the sun? Where does that interest come from?
My dad used to be a nuclear engineer, so I've always had an interest in nuclear physics.
Well, I think that it's very obvious these are very impressive projects. And being an English person, as my major, physics, obviously physics here, and some biology and chemistry, all of those, Bianca, you would say that all of those areas come into play, all those subjects come into play with projects like this. And it's really impressive.
It's the beauty of the science fair projects, and this is my soapbox that I tell anybody who will listen, is this is the moment where everything they learn about science comes together, but it's more than science. There's presentation skills, there's writing skills. These students will tell you that they have written pages and pages and pages of technical, difficult scientific writing. They have to stand in front of judges. When they go to Pittsburgh for ISF, it's 2 full days. It's like 9 hours in front of press and judges. So it's a lot of communication, and it's a lot of skills that's going to carry them into college and off into the real world, and we're so excited to give them the practice.
Well, like I said, English was my subject of choice in communication, and it looks like that you all have found your chosen subjects where you are excelling, because these projects are very impressive, and I think all of you watching can realize that, wow, we've got 2 great young scientists right here in Gaston County Schools. So good luck to you as you participate in the International Science Fair, and we appreciate you joining us today on GCS Today. Thank you for watching GCS Today. Stay tuned to Channel 21 for the latest school news and information. We look forward to seeing you next time.